Okay, now we're recording. So, there we go. All right. So, welcome, Tam. Thank you for being here. Thank you, everyone. So let's start off. We just all got done with 2 amazing days at Mega Camp, which most of you took in. Before you tell us about yourself, tell us about your Mega Camp experience and what are you going to implement?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's share. I know we just started recording. So if you want to watch here and they're on the YouTube channel. This is Perry Hurth. I'm Tam Laingen. And at Mega Camp, do you want to share with everybody what Mega Camp is, quick, in case they don't know what Mega Camp is?
So Mega Camp is one of Keller Williams' 2 big conventions in every year. Normally in Austin, Texas. This year was virtual. Normally about 20,000 people, and I bet we had way more, where it's just 2 days of learning from the very best in the real estate industry.
Yeah, so big market updates, where the economy is going, where we're going, and a lot of breakout sessions where agents can grab lots of tidbits to help build their businesses and make them better. So it was really great experience.
Yeah. So what's your big takeaway? What are you going to implement?
So of course I have a whole thing of notes, and my one thing, and I feel like I do this often, right, where I go to these trainings and I say the same thing all the time. But the one that really jumped out at me was the conversation with the YouTube channel, right? And the consistency. Gary Keller said the word consistency a lot, but the thing that jumped out at me with that class was to go where people are searching, right? So because COVID has changed the dynamics of that quite a bit, right? Everything ended up online. Suddenly our physical world disappeared out from underneath us, which in real estate is a very big part of our business, and mine to be included. So really focusing on where are people searching and then implementing ourselves into that spot so that they find us when they're searching, right? So the big thing there is online presence, right? And then how do you maximize your online presence, because that's where people are looking when they're buying and selling a home. So that's my one big takeaway. So to be more specific, this is the part where I say, like we get that training and we say the same thing all the time. I swear I've been saying video for the longest time, but I'm implementing it today. That's why I'm here, Perry. So
we're implementing it today. So this is recorded. You all heard this. This will be on Facebook and YouTube forever.
Hold me accountable.
So in 3 months, Tam, when we look back on the last 3 months, how do we know if you actually implement?
So yeah, and Sam and I are going to have more of a detailed plan once we get together and figure out what do we really want that to look like specific to us. But it's going to be seeing more video content on our social media pages, on so Facebook and Instagram for us. I'm not a Twitter girl. I'm just not. So it's going to be Instagram and Facebook content, and we're going to have a YouTube channel. We're going to have things uploaded on there too, and more video will be implemented into processes that already exist for us. So transaction videos, and when we do market update emails and our newsletters, they're going to have a video attached to them, not just stats. So some of those things we can use interchangeably, right? We're not making new content for all of those, but you can click on there, look, and then ask me, say, Tam, where's your video?
Perfect. If we want to follow you online, where are we going to find you?
So yeah, Instagram and Facebook are big ones. If you want to see my daily life, that's at Tam Laingen. So follow me at Tam Laingen, or North Home Team. That's a little bit more of our business page. I've got a lot more fun on my personal page. You get to know me for me.
Cool. So,
might not be just real estate. Little Lego, little Star Wars.
So I can verify that I'm not just saying this because you're sitting here. She is a good follow on the various platforms. So all right. So tell us about you. Obviously you're out of the way. Is that an office? You live on the northwest side. Tell us about you, how you got into real estate, all that fun stuff.
Yeah, so I started out, when I jumped into real estate, I had no background in business. I had no background in finance, nothing like that. I joined the military when I was 17 as a medic. I wanted to be a doctor from a really young age. And then I went on to study human biology chemistry, and I was in the military for 7 years. And then when I was about 25, I had my son that I wasn't expecting. That, of course, changes things, right? So then I had what I'm going to call my quarter life crisis, where I thought, I don't want to go to med school anymore. This is all I've ever known or dreamt of. So now what do I do? And so I jumped into corporate wellness for a little bit of time. After college, I worked at a private clinic. So I worked in ER, private clinic. I said, let me try corporate. And I lasted about 10 months, and it's not really my personality to walk out of a job like the day of. I just walked in one day, it was 7 a.m., I had the cushy hours, and I just left. I said, I think I'm just done. Remember, I have a 3-year-old at the time. And then I had to figure out what I was going to do. I didn't know what it was going to be at the time. And then I jumped all into real estate, really, like that transition happened pretty quickly. I had to figure out what I was going to do.
Yeah, how did you decide real estate?
Yeah, so I started to figure out, like, why have I made the decisions that I've made? Like, why was it medicine to begin with? I like science, but those classes were really hard. And but I just really figured out I just really like to help people in complex scenarios where there's a high emotional field. I do well under pressure, right? And I had bought in a home unexpectedly when I was back in 2010. I think I was 24 at the time. 2010, the landlord was getting foreclosed on. They were like, hey, you got to move. And I thought, oh yeah, I have that VA home loan thing. And I was in a home within like 2 months. It was very fast. I had no idea what I was doing. My realtor wasn't very great. So I was thinking back, just some of the big things that had happened in my life. And I thought, well, she didn't do a very good job, but I think I could do that better. And the more I dug into it, I figured out I could do it on my time, and I could really have a relationship with people. I could really help them. It's complex. It's a high emotional field. I think all of us in real estate can attest to that. So I took my classes, and then I just went all in. I didn't get a part-time job. I don't recommend that necessarily for everybody, but I just went all in because I do well under pressure, right? And gave myself an opportunity, and I just set it up so I couldn't fail. So I didn't.
Did you start at the YZ office or where?
Yeah, great question. I don't know if it's unusual, but I've been at the KW Lake Minnetonka office since day one.
And got licensed what year then?
It was 8 years ago.
So 2013.
Yes.
All right, so welcome, Matt Brady. We hope it's your granddaughter, I think, his tonsils out, right? We hope she's doing well, and we're glad you're here. So, all right. So just so you're aware, we got people been in the business a long, long time, and then we have newbies in the room as well and online. So this conversation is mega agent interview, so this is very high level. And at the same time, I want to start from the beginning because it's important to lay a good foundation for your business. So how did you build it in the beginning? What did you do? What did you learn that you wish you would have known earlier? How did that go?
Yeah. I hope that the newbies will get a lot of, good stuff here because I'm still in the trenches, right? We all are, even if you've been in for a long time. It's always changing. That's the beautiful thing about this industry is that you can be in for a long time, but you're still in the trenches. If you're doing sales, it's always changing. That's what keeps us on our toes. So you asked me a couple questions. So my ID is like, wait.
So how did you build it in the beginning? What did you do? And then what did you wish you would have known that you learned later?
Yes. So I walked into the office. I ended up at Keller Williams. I know that's a question you might have for me later, but I'll answer it now. Because Dana Murray had put a post out there about a buyer's agent. And I was like, sure, I'll check this out. I have no idea what I'm doing. I'll just talk to some people. Because I didn't have anyone in my sphere that had done real estate. So I was like, I got to go find some people who know what they're doing. And I ran into Dana Murray by the grace of God, I really believe, because if you've ever met Dana, she's just the most amazing person and mentor I could have gotten. And she said, hey, why don't you talk to Jim Camarata? And I walked over to Jim's office and I signed up that day. And the first thing he said to me was, Tam, go take Bold. And I said, what's that? And Bold is Business Objective of Life by Design. It's a MAPS coaching program through Keller Williams. So I remember I got my license in November. So the fall session had just started. So step one, I went to Bold. I wasn't licensed yet.
Who was our coach that round? Do you remember?
I don't remember.
Okay, keep going.
Beautiful blonde woman. I think she was down in Vegas, maybe at the time.
Michael and Beverly.
There we go. Thank you.
Michael and Beverly. Yep.
And wow, was she magnetizing, right? Especially new. So, and by the second step of Bold, I was finally licensed. So I was, sheer panic, you can imagine. But I did what Jim said. I just said, okay. He said, it's an investment in yourself. I said, whatever you say, Jim. And I did it and I went for it. And it absolutely helped my business, right? I just did what they said to do. I didn't do everything, I still don't when I take Bold, but I get better every time I take it. But they, I knew I grew up in the area. I knew I had these spheres of people that I knew and I wanted to bring value to them. So I said, how can I have conversations with people that's meaningful to me, because that was really important to me. So then I can't even remember who it is now, but they were said, Tam, do a first time home buyers seminar, because I was 20, how old was I at the time? 27, something like that. So I did a first time home buyers like workshop, and I just marketed it to my friends, like, because I knew they were buying homes. And I ended up having 13 people show up, and I mean, within 12 months, I probably had 8 transactions close out of that. And then the spiral of referrals from there is what really kind of just took me off. So Bold Buyers Workshop.
Were you solo or were you working with Dana?
Nope, I was on my own.
Okay.
Yep. So she worked with me on my first transaction. And then after that, she was just helpful and super nice. We didn't have all the coaching programs that we do now.
Well, and by the way, if you need a MAPS coach, Dana's a MAPS coach. She's one of the best ladies you'll ever meet. Brianna, she's an Ohio State fan, so she's got that strike against her. But other than that, she's awesome. Just kidding. Cool. Anything else in the beginning that you want to share? What did you learn that you wish you would have known?
Yeah. So looking back now, we should have had more systems in place. From the beginning, I probably would have made a lot more progress a lot faster, or had better service to people too, because I would have followed up with them regularly, systematically. Because my personality, it's easy for me to forget, right? I have to write it down. I need a task. I need to know that it's there, or it'll slip my mind. I'll be somewhere else, right? My brain, anyway. So systematizing sooner would have been definitely my number one. We've implemented a lot more of that now, but at the time, I didn't.
So, so that's a perfect segue into, let's talk about systems, 36 touch follow-up, like what's working really well for you that you can share with these guys.
Yeah. So, I mean, we talked about vulnerability, right? I'd be totally upfront with everyone. Before Command, my systems really just weren't there. All these different third-party sites, all these different things just does not sit well with me. I'm like, okay, I just need just one spot. Let me just go get it done. So I really didn't have a lot of these in place until Command came out. And then when I found out about Command, I just went all in right away because it was in one place. So that worked out really well for me. And of course, it continues to improve. So we're starting to see that system really being helpful for myself and Sam, the other half of the team here. But the smart plans that are in there have really helped, like, keep us on track, keep us systematized, create tasks for us that we're not necessarily like having to think or remember to do. So that's been one of the biggest ones. So we can do 36 touch, we can do follow-up plans. And of course, we're still trying to maximize them because there's just so much potential in there. So there's lots of room for growth for us, even though it's definitely working.
So let's say we went to high school together in Crystal and we know each other. How often am I hearing from you, letting me know your resource? So what plans am I on?
Yeah, so we always have people on like a quarterly call plan. And social media is a little bit interesting, but I still have them on a quarterly call plan, even though I am probably talking to them all of the time. And even if I talk to them 2 days ago, if they come up on my quarterly call plan, I'm just going to talk to them again, right? It's not going to be like, oh yeah, I just talked to them yesterday, I'll just check it. So it just reminds me, right? Because then there are some friends that maybe I haven't talked to, maybe they haven't been as active on social media, and I don't want to miss them. So they're on a quarterly call plan, they're on a home anniversary plan. We're really big into birthdays, so they're on a birthday plan, and they're on the monthly neighborhood snapshot if I have their address.
There you go.
Yeah,
So,
those are spheres, right? Like people that I know.
So what's funny about that is, so there's an action item right there. If you do not have every database on those plans, your goal between now and Monday is to get them on there. What's funny about that is successfully excludes. I have the exact same thing. Everyone is on all of those plans. So if you're in my database, you're on the quarterly plan, you're on the birthday plan, you're on the home anniversary plan, and then you're on the monthly neighborhood nurture. If I have their address, which I've stalked you to get it. And
so the best way to get someone's address is say, hey, I'm sending out a birthday card. What's your address? I need to send it to you. Now you have their address.
Yeah, right there. Action item for everyone if you haven't done it. And it'd be worth going through every one of your database to see if they are on indeed every plan.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds But I love to come from a place of value. I definitely feel like I can really show up my authentic self if I have something that I'm providing to people, which is why the workshop made sense for me, right? I'm educating, right? Because I wasn't a business girl. I'm not sales, I worked at my mom's job in Pella, like I never had a regular job where I was like selling something or whatever. So even if you're calling to ask for an address, it's like the value of like sending a birthday card or even just a handwritten note or something, mail them something like when you ask for their address, because getting things in the mail now that's not a bill, which we hardly even get in the mail anymore either, it's just like ads for things, is so meaningful and fun. So send me stuff too. You can ask for my address. I don't get as much in the mail. I send a lot of it out, but yeah, I think it's a great way to do it and provide value, and it's fun and it's a touch.
Cool. What other touches if again we went to high school?
Yeah. So I mean, we try to do special ones too, right? Like if I see somebody have a baby, or if I see, because I know you do this, you write notes to people, right? So I try to be like cognizant of what's happening in their life, right? Like, should I Amazon send them a wedding gift or a baby shower gift if I'm not invited? So we try to send these little things and just pay attention and do little things like that too that are extra touches. Certainly implementing like your 8x8 touches and the 36 touches. So we have a plan. I would love for us to build out a smart plan that's specific to our 36 touch so that we have all of those tasks triggering to us. Yeah. But we've got them written out. They're just not all on like one smart plan. So like bi-weekly newsletters, we got market updates, kind of fun stuff that we send out via email also.
How about what you recently implemented in the last couple months? Last night, do you have your happy hour?
Yep, we did our happy hour last night. Yep. And so that's
is that for everyone as well? The database? Or?
Yeah. Yep. So Sam and I just, because we're still, I'm a physical, I want to see your face. So I'm so glad you guys are here.
So you were too, by the way.
Yeah. That might be my mom. She's probably like, I haven't seen her in forever. She lives like 3 miles away though, so I'll work on that. I promise. If that's you, Cindy, my mom. I can't see her face, so. But yeah, we just decided like we just want to give people a chance to just come hang out with us, like where they know we're going to be there this Wednesday. Let's just do something fun, not business related. We just want to hang out with people, get face to face while we can. If it changes, we'll adjust. But yeah, we just started doing that. That was our second one, and it's been super fun. It's just a time super busy day yesterday with mega camp and work on top of that. But it's good to just kind of escape for a little bit, and friends can come, So that's definitely something we just started doing. So we'll email out invitations, or now I'm learning I shouldn't just email them. Might end up in their spam. I'm going to direct text these people. Yeah. So that's something we're always modifying, right? Like, okay, who do I really want to come? I better text them because they might not show up if I don't text them.
So to Jason Abrams' point over the last few days, find something you love to do. And if you know Tam, she likes martinis. Just implement that into your business somehow.
Did I have a martini last night? Yes. I'm not getting paid by Boulevard in Minnetonka, but they make a very good dirty martini with blue cheese stuffed olives that they do in-house, and I'm picky. And they do a job.
We can hashtag them on the video. And as a fun thing, when you're reaching out to your clients and you give them gifts, you give them specific items that with blue cheese stuffed olives. You tailor your things to.
Can I grab that olive really quick though? Okay, you guys don't know this. If you don't follow me, if you're watching, Harry really paid attention because I am very picky about my olives, and this is the exact brand that I will only buy. And I love Grey Goose, of course. I'll do Tito's, but I won't change the olives.
I bought Belvedere, sorry. Should have been Grey Goose.
Well, I do. I mean, they're all nice, but this is the one thing I can't change. If I'm going to do a dirty martini, it has to be the filthy brand olives.
See, there you go. So here's part of the point. Noah and I, you guys all know Noah, we're talking about, and you got to make adjustments in your business. So on my 36 touch, I was going to do Vikings magnets because I'm a Vikings fan, whatever. But the truth is not everyone likes the Vikings. And it's just stupid if I'm a Packer/Badger fan and I get a Vikings magnet. So we totally scrapped the idea. So Gary keeps talking about like real estate's a one-to-one experience. You got to tailor the experience to every single person in your database. Okay. So
thank you for that.
Yeah, see, you tailor the experience. So, anything else systems related? Otherwise, we can move on.
No, I think that's good for now. I mean, there's so much room for growth too. So I always open it up like afterwards, especially if you guys have anything that's working really well for you. I mean, let us know. I'm not going to do it as much anymore. I'm going to have Sam do it, but I'll listen.
So let's talk about Sam. One of the questions I had was, when do you hire? What does that look like? What does it do for your business? Sam's also a good follow online.
Yeah.
So make sure you follow her. Go ahead.
So yeah, I love this question because for so long, probably too long. I know, I waited way too long, probably. We won't even say probably, just erase the probably part. I waited too long. I'll just own that. And I didn't actually end up joining forces with Sam until I kind of like didn't even have a choice, right? So other people started noticing her talent. I noticed it right away. And I had been through career visioning. I'd interviewed quite a few people. I just couldn't, for probably a lot of reasons. Like maybe I wasn't ready. I was afraid. I think a lot of it was I was afraid of being responsible for someone else financially, and let alone myself and my household by myself. Other people started seeing her talent, and then I'm like, shoot, I may not be ready in here, but I have to, because I don't want her to go anywhere else, right? So the talent showed up, and I had to widen my, vision a little bit in the moment and get rid of some of my drunk monkey talk.
When was that? How long ago?
So it was probably 2 years ago, a year and a half ago. I met her 2 years ago, and I knew something right away clicked. Culturally, that kind of stuff. We did the KPA. I knew her personality, and especially once I saw it, was what I needed, because it's like the opposite of me. We get along really well, but we're very different.
Mm-hmm.
And so brought her on board. So we joined forces, and originally both doing sales. She was doing a little bit of the admin stuff. She was a newer agent. So just trying to figure out, what was going to make her happy. Like, what does she want her life to look like? Is this making her happy? What does that look like? Because when the talent shows up, you make a way for them. And so we've made some adjustments along the way. We've talked a little bit of learning lessons and things like that. And now we've kind of adjusted our business model in the last, it had to have been 7 months ago that, she finally came to me, and I was waiting for the conversation because she just wasn't happy doing sales. And we weren't even in like the thick of it from 4 months ago, right? And we adjusted what she was doing and what I wasn't doing. And all the things she wants to do, I don't really want to do. And I kind of knew that. But so we've made some adjustments, and I mean, we're on track to have the biggest year that I've ever had. And we're like doing very well. I think we're starting to finally see some of those adjustments. They take time to kind of like ride up. What do they call that curve when you start going? So I think, yeah, thank you. So we're starting to see some of the success that came from, I think, you might have the right people, you got to make sure they're in the right spot. And I think we're starting to see some of that now.
What would you learn through that?
Yeah, well, it validated what I knew, which was you got to find people that have the right culture as you, which is why I landed at Keller Williams, because I don't even know if I would have been in real estate if it wasn't for Keller Williams. And then when Sam showed up, I knew that I could trust that she would treat my clients and the people that I know and trust and love the same way that I would. And that really kind of supersedes everything else. I can teach a skill set, but from a cultural perspective, that was really hard for me to like let go of control of some of those things, because I worried that somebody might not treat the people I care about the same way that I would. And I knew that with her. But then, yeah, I think maybe we could have had the conversation sooner, right? Like being in the right spot, some of these adjustments, and we would have found maybe more success faster or sooner. I don't know.
Was there a KPA match for sales side?
So no, I mean, she matched more with the administrative side. So that could have been, could have been a mistake on my side right on the gate, but as a new agent, I thought, okay, dabble in sales, see what you think. And we had started her doing some kind of the admin stuff to transition and see. And then, so that could have been a mistake, right? And I could have made the decision sooner, had those conversations sooner.
Now her work fulfillment is probably way better.
Yeah.
Doing what she's doing.
Yeah, it was like, what do you want your life to look like? Because in sales, it's sales, like it can be, and but my personality does well with it, for the most part. I mean, 4 months ago it was like absolutely crazy, but yeah, she's much happier with the structure and the content of work and when it needs to be done and that kind of stuff. And it's all stuff I don't necessarily want to be doing anyway. So I've been able to focus on the things that I'm good at.
Which brings you more fulfillment.
Right.
Okay, so we're, before we dive into the market of the moment, let's just take a pause here and answer some questions. And grab a drink if you need it.
Okay.
The vodka is up.
Yeah, I was like, it's over there.
Was it hard to, with Sam, to let go of certain things, or when she does something not the way you want to do it, let go of it to some extent, or how do you deal with that whole situation?
Yeah, so he asked, has it been difficult for me to let go of some things that Sam is taking control of or should be taking control of? For me, she probably has a different answer than I have. She's probably saying, yes, it is. I think I will admit, and like just fully admit that I think if it were someone else, I would have an even harder time. I had built trust with Sam because we had known each other for about 6 months before we joined forces. And I had her like help me with some things here. So I kind of got a sense of who she was. So I think if it was someone else, I would have a much harder time. The next hire, I will probably have a much harder time. It's going to be someone under Sam. So I think that'll go really well because it'll be Sam managing that person, not me. I just have to work with Sam. But I do think I really trust her with marketing, things like that. But I know she would say, like, I say I'm not detailed, but I know she'd be like, no, Tam, I know you're going to want to check it. I know you're going to want to look at it. So I still think I struggle to let go of some things, right? And I probably will even more, like things that aren't part of the normal status quo, right? Like I'm more likely to just jump in to solve it. So I know I have my struggles ahead of me for sure. I know Sam's a little bit unique. I really trust her, and her and I are very eye to eye on branding and visuals and content, so I don't have to talk to her about that as much, but I will be totally honest with you. I think I will have a harder time with somebody else. So that's a good question. Ask me in a year how I'm doing.
How many units have you projected to sell this year, money-wise?
Yeah, so our goal, because so much of this had changed, right? Sam had her sales goal, I had my sales goals, and then we had to readjust because we changed everything again. So we went to 30 as a unit for me because I'm the only salesperson. And we kind of had to adjust a little bit in the middle of the year. So now we also have to readjust, like come October, what's next year going to look like too. And then after Mega Camp, it was, okay, who's the next hire then? And it's going to be an admin person. So we can offload even more of that stuff. So that's a lesson in all of this too, right? It's like goal setting, being open to the fact that it might change because we had this shifting in our team dynamic.
So does she do showings as well, like, or anybody on the buyer side currently, or?
Great question.
And how do you balance that with, your single mom, right?
Yeah. So the way we're set up now is that Sam does all operations and marketing. So she does all the transaction coordination, all the marketing, everything, right? She does social media content. I post on my own, but a lot of it is stuff she's created or whatever. And I do appointments, lead gen. Some of what Sam does is lead gen. I won't tell her that, so don't tell her that. We're gonna say having conversations, but she's in communication with people just in a different way that's comfortable for her, right? And they're more operational in nature, but it's still the same thing. So I do all appointments, showings, contract writing, and negotiations, and she essentially does everything else.
Cool.
Yep. And then the next person would be offloading some of those tasks that Sam doesn't need to do, right? So probably transaction coordination to be the next thing to go.
Cool. Yeah.
Did you, sorry, I can't remember. Do you have a neighborhood you focus on? Do you do anything, like that, or is it?
So we don't, so that's one of the things that we have kind of in the line of sight, and it's something we wanted to do this year. It's probably going to be more next year. The neighborhood that I live in, absolutely. Is that a farm area we want to participate in? Yes. Otherwise, a majority of it is like West Metro and Northwest Metro. We do a lot there because it's people that we know. Sam lives on the West Metro, grew up there. I grew up in Crystal, and then I live in the Northwest Metro. So we focus a lot in that area. Of course, we're everywhere, but yeah. So Perry, to answer your question, I do all the showings all over, but we do focus West and Northwest Metro. But to pinpoint on a very specific neighborhood where we have kind of do we want to do events in that neighborhood? farming that neighbor, as we call it in the business, we do have one of those in mind. And it's of course the one that I live in, right? That's the easiest one.
And also, what, in addition to happy hour, are there events that you do, or where you at on that?
Yeah, so we've had to change that, right? Like, and get creative and planning event. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it's a little stressful to me to think about planning events because they might change, right? Like, are we gonna plan an event 3 months out and then have to undo all of it because we just don't know where things are going? So I'll be totally honest, that's been a hard transition for me away from events because of COVID and adjusting to some of that stuff. But yeah, absolutely, we want to have like our customer appreciation event, the friend event, that kind of stuff. But we do, I mean, I do have some, just being totally honest, some reservations about planning them because they take so much effort away from business, like daily business, you know, and then just having so much stuff in the air, we just don't know if it's going to come to fruition. So when all that goes away, I'll be very excited to have more events because those are fun, you know? Yeah, those are good questions.
What other questions?
Yeah, so, well, I went to high school at Cooper, so we were right up Douglas Drive. Oh yeah, 2004, right? I think that's my high school year.
2004?
Yeah.
Wow, makes me feel.
But yeah, right up Douglas Drive, like by the pool.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, that's a, you know, we didn't really talk about like the context behind my business in terms of where does it come from. So a lot of it is people that I know, you know. The other thing that I did at the beginning is open houses, that really, because I do well face to face, right? So I would definitely say, like, talk to the people that you already know. That's what I did, and do open houses. But and that's just for me, right? If you're not as good in person, or you're not as comfortable for whatever reasons now in COVID, if you're not comfortable face to face, it's just figuring out what works for you, and that's what worked for me. Was being face to face with people, which is why I love events. It's why I love networking. It's why I'm more likely to get involved with a group that has things that happen face to face, and just connecting with my sphere, right? Like just hanging out with them regularly, talking to them. It takes a lot of work to maintain friendships. I don't know if anyone told you that as an adult, when you have kids and like a business and a house. My grass is dying, but my friends are still there.
Perfect.
So, but yeah, I mean, I just, you know, take care of the people that already know, like, and trust you, and just be in relationship with those people. That's been one of the bigger things for me. And then, yeah, the open houses.
Nice.
So we're very, very much like referral based business, previous clients, friends of our friends, which is nice because then we know we probably like them. One of the biggest lessons I've probably learned is like when to say no to a client that you don't want, you know, because it'll take away from all the clients that you do want. So I've learned that. So when you get referrals from people that you've worked with that you really like, you're more likely to like working with them too. So that was a big lesson for me over the years.
Just in yesterday, we talked about when you call somebody, you know, what value.
Yep.
And how to really do that.
Yeah, I love that question because that's so important to me. Man, when I took gold, probably the first year and every time, like, call these people with a script. And in my office, they always knew, they called me Tam the Rogue. Tam just does things different. Tam does things different. I'm like, yes, I do. In bold, when they were like, just call these people. I was like, I absolutely am just dead miserable. I hate this. So I'm like the one that was not doing those things. I was still talking to people, but just different. So because it was really struggling, I needed to feel like I was bringing value to someone, or I just didn't like it. It did not make me feel good at the end of the day. I was like, I hate these phone calls. I'm sorry, Carrie. I'm just being totally honest.
So do I. There you go.
So in everything that I do, I try to think, okay, where's the value here, right? And so one of the things that they've talked about and that we saw in the Culture Summit yesterday morning were those care calls, and we call them care calls in the business, but it really is just like checking on your friends. Like, hey, how are you? Or if I see something on Facebook or Instagram, I'm just like, hey, I saw that happen. I'm so sorry. And there's no intentions behind it. It's nothing. I'm just reaching out. And I firmly believe that if you just care for others and provide for others and show up for others, that the business will find you and the money shows up. So I think the biggest one is just come from a place of contribution with no, like, unconditional love, essentially, right? And just trust that it's going to show up. There are times when my friends like don't send me business, and then they find out they probably should have, didn't go so well. And I'll always be there. Like nothing's gonna interrupt that. So sometimes I don't get the business, right? But in the long run, it's funny because I'll end up getting referral from them later, or they'll end up using me later or something like that. So I just can't attach a transaction to it. I can't attach a dollar assigned to anything that I'm doing, or I don't feel good about it. So that's what I'm saying. Like send out, I know you do notes, don't you? Do you write notes every week? That's something I want to do more of too. But like I dedicate a certain time of my day, COVID. I mean, I will be totally honest, my schedule kind of went haywire, especially in the summertime, but yeah, see, he's got them whenever he's got an idea. Part of my time, like an hour of my day is set up for like very intentional social media interaction, right? So I'm just like looking at people's life and commenting about it. I might text them afterwards based off something that I saw. So it's just making contacts, but not like there's nothing attached to it. You can always say how's work. They're always going to turn around and ask you how your work is, right? That's a really easy way to have that conversation. That's how I got away with that in Gold, right? So I'd have the conversations I wanted to have anyway, and they're just like, well, how's work? And they would tell me, and then they would ask me about my work. I was like, talked about real estate. I'm good, so, but it works, because then you go back to whatever you might be talking about. So that's, I think, the first place to start, especially with everything that's been going on. And we're just our worlds are so kind of like unsure, is your first place of value is just do care calls, ask them how they're doing and ask them how their job is. And they're going to ask you about yours. Right. And then that's your chance to just drop a little bit and then go back to caring about them in the relationship. Yeah. Does that help?
That's good.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the market. What are you doing to win?
Yeah. So we live and breathe the market every day, right? It's changing a little bit. So it's getting a little bit better, in terms of like our personal lives and stop, drop, and go showings and things like that. So one of the things that we were doing, for buyers, certainly me as a business owner, I was focusing on listings, and I manifested it and it showed up. We got a lot of people that just wanted to sell, right? They weren't buying right now, they were just selling. Thank you. Because that's probably what carried us through a lot of this when we're writing so many offers for buyers and things like that. But one of them, I see us kind of drifting away from this though. We're starting to see inspection contingencies come back. We're not seeing insane cash offers. Like I have no idea where the money came from, but sounds good. We're not seeing that as much, or I'm not sure. There are like pocket markets still, but these insane appraisal guarantees are kind of coming away too. So I'm starting to see some of the buyer activity even on listings, like, there's this like readjustment that's happening. We're having to reset expectations with our sellers because their minds are still in the market of 3 months ago. So in talking to sellers that are coming on now, we can't read the market ahead and price higher. We need to price. We can't do that. We got to price better down here. You may not get this like blast of showings that are scheduling a week out and it's absolute insanity. Like the buyers are kind of thinking a little bit. They're starting to creep back in, they kind of paused for a little bit. So it's resetting expectations with sellers, and it's this, making sure you're having the right conversations with the listing agents when you're writing offers, because you don't want to come in too high, not ask for an inspection when you really could have had an inspection. So we're starting to see some of those come back, because before, we weren't having inspection contingencies. We were doing walkthrough inspections, like they had talked about at Medicamp. We were doing that, so that we had someone's eyes.
So how do you figure that out?
With the sellers or with the buyers? Oh yeah, with the listing agent. I ask all the questions in the world. They're probably not supposed to answer them, but if they do, great for me, right? But it's really saying, hey, how's the listing going? Great listing. How's the market going for you guys? What are you guys seeing in the market? Because they know I'm calling it. I say, hey, I'm calling about such and such, but I say, what are you seeing in the market? But I'm talking about this house, right? And just kind of getting a vibe, like, oh, we haven't had as many showings as I was expecting. My seller thought there would be more showings, that kind of stuff. And so I'm seeing that happen because I just wrote an offer on one. And if this was 3 months ago, I would think for sure we'd be in crazy multiple offers. We'd have to be sky high, that kind of stuff. But my buyers didn't have to come in as high. And we got an inspection contingency by having that conversation. So, but I still write early and I write fast, right? Because I want the seller to know that like my buyer really likes this house. So don't wait, because that I've been seeing. They're going to wait just to see if another one comes in, which was not the case 3 or 4 months ago, right? Like we had so many of them, we couldn't keep up with what was coming in. So it's always, I call them, I just try to build rapport and then ask questions about the market. I'll even ask specifically about the house if they're not giving me enough information. I'll say, oh, how many showings have you guys had? Are you guys super packed with showings? Are you expecting multiple offers? I want to see what is the agent expecting, because that's a conversation they're having with the seller, which might be wrong if they're not in the market every day. So, and then somewhat educating them as well, you know, because sometimes they're miseducating their client because they're just not in the market every day. So yeah, it's asking lots of questions without shame and just seeing what they say back. Even, I mean, if they don't, I just say, no, that's great. I totally respect that. I understand, but I just ask. And don't be afraid to, and I just build rapport in a nice way so that they trust me. And sometimes they're coming back to me for advice about how to handle their client, you know, but that works for me because then they have buy-in with me and my buyer. So just setting expectations. And sometimes as an inexperienced buyer's agent, we're helping the agent set the expectations because we don't know what conversations they've had, which definitely affect how they accept offers, right? And how they negotiate. Does that make sense?
I do.
Yeah.
All of that exactly.
So yeah, we're just in a weird transition right now, I think.
Well, and if you don't ask the question, you'll never know. So you might as well ask, even if you get shot down.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I mean, we know too, because, you know, the conversations before were like, I don't even know how many offers I have right now. I haven't looked at my email in the last hour. I think I have 8. I'm not even sure. They just keep coming in. I mean, we're just not having those conversations. You know, those aren't the responses anymore right now. So it's finding that sweet spot for the buyer right now where we're not overpaying or we're not getting rid of contingencies that would protect them. So, but I am starting to see the inspection contingencies come back and stuff, which is thank goodness for that. I mean, not for my sellers, but for the buyer.
Any market related questions or anything else on the market worth sharing? You seen any price reductions on your listings?
Not my listings, but other people's, yes. Yeah, I like my listings because I have good conversations with my sellers on the front end. We're very clear about the numbers. I run several net sheets, and I even set them up, you know, like if I'm having the conversation now, it's like, we just don't know where the market's going. I'm going to give you 3 different like types of ranges, right? Because we just don't know what's happening. We might end up with closing costs. So I'm setting them up. I'm not making comments like, nope, you're not going to have that. No, you're not going to have that. I said, we have to stay open because we live and breathe in the market that we're in today. And just setting the right expectations so that when it does change, they're not surprised or angry at you for misleading them. And sometimes it really matters because they're buying another house. We're starting to see more buy sells coming back into the market. And if you price the house at a list price that's too high and you run their net sheet based off that list price and they think they're going to buy the next home based off that price, you really got them in trouble. I'm definitely seeing price reductions on other listings. Mine sell too fast because I priced them right. But
Well,
other
how
ones,
do you have
yes.
that conversation? What's the conversation like as far as pricing?
Yeah, I mean, you can't deny data. That's what I always say. So come prepared, come with the comps, come with actives, right? What's active on the market today, what's pending. And right now it's gonna be really important to talk about how many days has it been on the market. And there was a feature they talked about yesterday, like showings to accepted offer. And I was like, man, where's that in showing time? Somebody knows, somebody tell me. Because I wanna know that, because I bet you it's changing right now. But you'll have to show me afterwards. I'm coming for you. I'm gonna look at that later. But I saw that, or I heard that yesterday. That's one of those markers I would definitely be presenting to people because it's changing, right? Days on market, showings to accepted offer time. That stuff is changing. Contingencies are changing. So the data doesn't lie. So I like to bring the comps. I bring pictures of the inside of those comps, and I let them decide. I say, you know, this one's is the closest to your house, and this is where it's at right now, or this is how many days it's been on. What do you think it's going to sell for? Now that we're seeing this is how many new listings are on. This is, you know, and we live and breathe in the market that we're in today. What do you think?
Yeah, if you send them the actual comps so they can go through all the pictures, that's huge.
Yeah, and have the pictures on there so that they can see the inside, not just the square footage and things like that. So that usually helps because they're not going to fight you when this house went under pending, but it was on the market for 30 days all of a sudden, and theirs isn't anywhere near as nice, but they thought it was going to be that price. There's no way they can justify it because the data just doesn't lie.
Yeah, I wrote
Then it's
down,
not opinion.
you can't deny the data.
Mhm.
Right? Dan, you had a question?
Yeah, just about, I didn't hear what they mentioned yesterday about post Labor Day, you know, I think predictions of what's, you know, right now it's always state fair time, just drops off the map, but post Labor Day, they talk about markets.
So for those of you guys watching on Facebook and later, he asked about, what's the projection for the market after Labor Day? And if you're watching and you're not in Minnesota, it's like a specific question, right? Because like if you're not from Minnesota, you don't know. After Labor Day and the state fair, they didn't say anything yesterday about any predictions about that, like United States wide or anything like that.
They did say you got to be careful with the data we're going to see over the next few months because last year was so skewed so high due to COVID. When you see numbers that say year over year are down, it's not actually accurate. So be careful of that. Like I love looking at stats for MAR every month, but it's going to be so skewed over the next 4 months that it's not real numbers.
So it's saying it's down. What were they saying? So instead of being like the hottest market ever, we're like the second hottest market ever. So it might be down year over year, but it's still really.
And this will be the 5th best year on record, they said.
Yeah. So even though we're not like prices aren't continuing, like we've had a price correction, we've seen that but it's not going to just continue on at this pace. It's starting to level off a little bit, but it's still great. It's not like bad by any stretch of the imagination there. Did you have a question or a comment?
Well, I was just going to kind of coincide with you said, wondering if people are, especially agents, are panicking when they see the price reductions after 2 weeks.
Yep.
Because that feels like it might happen.
Yeah, I mean, I'm seeing price reductions quickly, because and this is all about setting seller expectations. Because if we, overprice a house as an agent, then we've got to backpedal, right? We have to lower the price or it's not going to sell. And the market tells you pretty quickly. So I think that's why we're seeing quick price reductions, because they're thinking, oh my gosh, my house didn't sell with 8 offers in the first weekend. It's probably too high. And I think buyers are just taking more time to think a little bit, they're breathing a little bit. And some of these that are coming back in the market are buy sells. So they've got more things to think about, right? I still think as a buyer's agent, you need to encourage them to move quickly, even though they want to think. But I think that's where we're seeing some of those price reductions. Like maybe, obviously, they could be in fact too high, but because they haven't sold the first weekend on the market, you listed Thursday, it's not gone by Saturday, they're thinking the house is too high. I mean, it might be, but I think that's why we're seeing them so fast. What do you think, Barry?
Well, and you have to be clear about sharing with your sellers the data over the last 2 months. We have a 20% swing in inventory over the last 2 months, went from down 46% to down 25% across the metro. And, again, over the next few months, that number is going to look different because it was so high, but it's definitely different than 2 months ago.
Yeah, so that's where I think it's important. On a listing appointment, bring in the days on market data, bring in the actives that are listed right now, show any price reductions that have happened, when did they happen, how long has it been sitting on the market. So I think showing what's active and pending will help to just show what's current happening in the market, like this month, this week, wherever we're at. I think that's going to be helpful because if you just bring the sold data, that might not be very helpful.
Yeah. And one more thing, Dan, as far as next year, they're projecting rates end up at like 3.7 by the end of next year.
Which isn't too bad, rates and things like that. So yeah.
So.
But yeah, I think right now, what I think where we're kind of seeing a little bit of this lull is just resetting expectations on both sides. I think that's what I see actively happening, like the last 2 or 3 weeks, I would say, is resetting expectations and saying, okay, where are we today now? And then I guess I'm really curious to see, once school starts, because we've got more people going back in person. So there's more of that push to like be in place or have a signed purchase agreement so they can start school in person. But some of them aren't going back in person, maybe they're more likely to move during a school year. I don't know. So I'm curious to see what that looks like. And how is our winter going to come in? That'll dictate things too, right? Or will we have one? Well, we'll have one, but will it be snowy or not?
So we have 9 minutes left. Does everyone have an action item so far you're going to implement by the end of the week?
Does anybody want to share one?
That's a live question. And here's why I asked, we'll go to you, Pam, in 1 second. If you do not, then we have 9 minutes to ask enough great questions where you can figure out what yours is. Pam.
Action item would be, I like how you mentioned that really get people on Facebook.
Mhm.
And even if you were not invited to chat with you.
Yep.
You still send it.
Yep. Work hard.
I just started thinking something to do with that.
Yeah.
That would apply. And that's pretty good.
Yeah, Yeah, so what Pam said for everyone watching at home is to pay attention to people's lives on social media. There's so much information there. And even if you're not invited to some important event in their life, just send them a card or text them about it even. Just reach out and say, hey, I saw this happen. I love seeing this happen in your life. It just makes me happy to see these good things happening. Or if it's not good things, to just say, hey, how's it going? Is there anything I can do? Like, I don't want to be too forward, but is there anything I can do? And just reach out. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. And even if, I'm a do things now kind of person. So even if it's not something you're physically mailing, you got to get stamps, all these processes, like just text them. Just shoot them a text or call, whichever is easier. Send them a Facebook message, whatever, like the post and then send them a message. So I'm intentional about it, but it's because it makes me happy and I'm already like paying attention to their lives. And Brianna was on the call earlier and we just met face to face for the first time, but I felt like I've known her for a really long time because we just follow each other on social media and it happens all the time, you guys. Like people will see me at the store and they'll say, Tam, and I'm like, oh my gosh, Stacy. And we've never met, but we know each other. I was like, oh, how are your kids? She's like, oh, I'm getting stuff for a birthday party. I was like, oh, I saw that, but we've never physically met. So I think if I had like one thing to tell everyone, if you don't have an action item, if you're not on the internet, if for whatever reason it is, like if you're just not on the internet, so social media is such an easy way to use the internet, get on there, find your sphere. It's so easy to be in contact with them today because they're telling you everything that's happening. And all you have to do is like, comment, and like direct message them. So when I'm doing intentional social media, because it makes me happy, just get to talk to my friends and it's like work or something. I was like, okay, cool, lead gen. Well, I'll make it fun. So before I make my own post, I like 5 different posts. I comment on 5 different posts and I send 5 different direct messages and then I make my post.
Did you steal that from Lisa Archer?
Yep. And it works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one of the things Gary said, favorite quote of the week was intentionality in everything in life. So again, this is her taking 1 hour to be intentional about this huge time waster we have, social media, which could be a massive benefit to your business.
Yeah.
So if you're going to spend the time on there, which most of us are, how do we just make it 1% better, be intentional, and use it to build relationships?
Yeah, don't be a ghost, and then send a text. Like that's the other thing, right? Like come out of their social media bubble and like send them a text message. Yeah, be human more often with more people. I think if COVID taught us anything, it's that, which is I'm such a huge fan of because that's where I built my business on, right? It was like, I just got to bring value to these people because I care about them and I don't want them to think that it's just a business thing. I want them to know that I care about them. And COVID really kind of forced that upon a lot of us, right? To just kind of reassess what's important in life. Like, what are we here for? And if not humanity, I don't know what. And social media is a gift and a curse. It depends on how you want to use it. And you can use it to really power your business in a really meaningful way that brings a lot of value and it's more fun, I think, that way. Because why not build your business off the people who already chose you and they like you, they know you, and they trust you. You don't have to go build rapport and trust with someone you don't know. You have so many people you already have that with. You just need to be in contact with them. Yep. Yeah, so I try to post every day, right? Stories is different. I might do some there. And I've certainly fallen off. I'll be totally honest, like with the nature of the world of the last year, politics, all that stuff, it made me not want to be on there. So I was more likely to text somebody, or I was on Instagram. I wasn't on Facebook. I just kind of stayed away from that one. And then I moved my intentionality over here. So I try to do once a day. Sam does our business posting once a day. But certainly like a story, something I try to do once a day. And if it's not once a day, that's okay. If you miss a day, just start again the next day, But the biggest thing, I think it's more powerful, not necessarily you making posts, but you interacting with other people's posts. So even if you don't, you're like, if you're overthinking, what do I post? What do I talk about? Oh, content, la, la, la. It is way more important for you to just be involved in their lives. Like respond to something on their story, like participate in the poll, comment on it. It's because it's fun. But so that's my thing is like, don't get caught up on creating content. Get caught up on being in other people's content. Does that help?
Yeah.
Yeah. I know I get stuck sometimes. I'm like, oh, I want to bring value. I want to bring value. Ah. And then I just take a picture of another martini. And that's value. Dang it. It's going to be a Belvedere martini later today, guys.
Yeah, it should have been Greg's. Whoops. And the effort is what matters.
Yes.
There you go.
It's the olives that matter, guys.
That's right. What other questions? We have a couple of minutes, 3 minutes.
Other thing that I would say is like to humanize yourself. Like if you follow me on social media, right? Like where are people searching? They're on their phones, they're on social media, and just pick a social media platform that you like. I like Instagram, I like Facebook. So find them and then like humanize yourself, right? Like don't just be a business person. What do you want to share? I think anyone that goes on my Facebook and Instagram is going to tell you she likes Star Wars, she likes Legos, she likes dirty martinis, she's got a son and a doodle, and that's pretty much and CrossFit.
And
And
you
like,
work out.
that's my life. And I was like, so if you know that about me, you pretty much know everything you need to know about me, and it's all right there. So humanize yourself, and it doesn't need to just be business. It's like they need to like, know, and trust you. And there's a strategic way of putting some of these things in there about real estate. So Tony Giordano does a really great job. He taught here many years ago, and he really changed my mindset about how do I talk about real estate, but in a soft way that's not so harsh, and how do I incorporate me as a person and like really caring about other people, because I definitely want to talk about real estate with my friends and family, because I'm definitely the one they should work with. They can trust me and I can trust them with me. And how do we put all that together? And Tony Giordano, I can't remember the name of his book now. It was so long ago that I read it, and I keep giving it away. But he's definitely one to look up if you're wondering, like, how do I use social media in a really meaningful way with business behind it?
So without going over on time, we haven't talked about your profit and loss and how you track your numbers. What's the Cliff Notes version of that?
I love talking about profit and loss sheets. So if anybody that's watching, anytime you don't have one, ask me, I'll send you one. Get a system in place, whatever it is, as simple as it is. Just do it once a month at minimum. Put all your receipts in one spot. Make sure you track your mileage, and at least track your numbers once a month. Put them down once a month, and just keep it simple. That's my big thing with that. But just do it.
What do you use?
I have everything on an Excel spreadsheet.
Okay.
Yep. But I do that weekly. Like I go back the whole week. So you don't want to go too far. That's a nightmare. You'll only mess that up once. You have to.
Well, and if you don't track it as well as you should, like me in the past, I would put all my showings on my calendar via the Showing Time app, and then I can track the mileage that way and go back like for the month and say, oh, I went to these 7 showings, and blah, blah, track it that way.
Yeah. Ask Smile IQ. Yeah. So whatever it is, I always tell people just keep it simple so that it's manageable and doable, and just do it. Make sure. I mean, I do mine once a week, right? So I take a look at it, but have all of the money coming in and out of one bank account so that it's much easier. So there's all accountability there. Don't have it anywhere else. In and out in one spot, receipts in one spot. Do your mileage, I would say weekly, but at minimum once a month. Create your bank statement, make sure it matches all the stuff that you've spent, and then be done with it. But do it after you get your bank statements at minimum. That's what I said.
So last question, if we have a client who wants to buy Seago, and we have no idea where that is, nor do we want to go there, how do we send you business?
Yeah, so you can find me anywhere. My phone number, 763-213-7889. Anytime someone finds you on the internet, your social media sites, they should be able to find your phone number right away, right? So if I pull up your profile right now, and your phone number is not right there, I'm going to tell you to change it. So my phone number, email me, text me, drop me a direct message online. Yeah, Tamara@KW, or my phone number, or direct message me.
Sweet. Cool.
Yeah.
Let's give a round of applause.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having
Thank you all
me.
for coming. And next month you're in for a treat. Jason Gorman will be here.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Thank you all. We're gonna end.
Martini time.
Martini
That's
time.